And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, October 26th, 2013. This is Season 7, Episode 37. I'm Scott.
I'm James.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm RJ.
And welcome to the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. That number again is 334-272-9228. Nobody ever calls, so I don't know why I say it. You can find us on Twitter at In-Game Chat as well as on Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. We are streaming the cam feed right now through Twitch, and you can find us over there as well as join in the chat room live while we broadcast. So welcome to the show. Coming up on this episode of In-Game Chat, we have an interview with Red Barrels Games, the guys who did Outlast, and we'll be talking with them in the next hour. Plus, we've got 2 copies of Outlast for the PC, for Steam, 2 Steam codes for Outlast that will be given away on the show later on, so make sure you tune in for that. Up first, though, we're going to dive back into next-gen discussion, which is pretty much what it's going to be probably from here on into next-gen time in a couple of weeks.
Until it becomes current gen.
Yeah, really. Current gen. Anyway, that's coming up very quick. Just a couple of more weeks before we dive into the PS4 territory, and then a week later into Xbox One. I feel pretty good about where I'm sitting on the PC right now because it looks really pretty playing Batman with my physics stuff working on my NVIDIA card. Real nice stuff. But anyway, that's at 1080p, what I'm playing on. And what we've heard, sort of not really conflicting. It all started from what was it? Was it IGN? They got a look at Call of Duty Ghosts on PS4?
I believe this all came out of a thread that, yes, was about IGN looking at Call of Duty, and they were using the PlayStation 4 to show it off. And it's the first time in the history of Call of Duty that any game in the series has been previewed prior to release on anything other than a Microsoft console.
Yeah. Which
got people wondering.
Is the first red flag,
why?
I suppose. You know, it's one of those situations where it's like, well, why is that? You know, if anything, everybody, if something like that changes, the first question you're going to get from most people is why is it this way? Regardless of what the answer is, we'd like to know. We didn't get an answer as to why. We got speculation as to possibly why, but we didn't get an answer as to why that was.
I don't think we got an answer that meets the strict standards of journalism. But I think we got something close enough to a reason, if not an answer would be somebody coming forth and saying, this is what's happening, I'm close enough to the source to know that the situation is this or that, and that is why you see things this way. That doesn't happen in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why there really is no journalism in the gaming industry. It isn't even just the fault of the people who are not performing journalism, but are instead performing extended marketing, right? The problem is that you can't get anybody to talk. You can't get anyone to move. It's extraordinarily difficult as an external source to access meaningful information from these companies because it's a strange business. It's a really, really strange business. So this isn't news. This is news about a business. Mm-hmm. So it can be really difficult to find anything particular or interesting or any specific nugget you're going after. You would have to push awfully hard and be lucky and be well loved and probably do some other things you wouldn't want to mention in public. But yes, this does not meet the standards of journalism at all.
Well, the nugget we got out of this was the rumor that COD is running in 720p on the Xbox One, 1080p on the PS4.
Or at the very least something less than 1080p.
Right, because Rise is running at 900?
900p.
Yeah. Is what we know for a fact that's the case. And then there is, again, rumor that the next Call of Duty on Xbox One is running at 720p, and the speculation was that it was running at 1080p on the PS4. This is why they were showing what they were showing. We got confirmation that is the case on the PlayStation 4.
Yes.
COD is running at 1080p on the PlayStation 4, and it will run that way when you pick it up in a couple of weeks.
They confirmed 1080. They didn't confirm a locked frame rate, did they? They didn't confirm that it was locked to 30.
I don't think so.
Assume that's what they're making.
Likely, but I don't think so.
As a quick primer for anybody that doesn't really understand or care why this matters, there was a threshold for what we considered to be HD at the beginning of the last, I guess, about to be last generation, right?
Right.
At this past generation. And 720p. A lot of the televisions that were sold that were HD televisions were at 720p. And that seemed like a nice even, consistent place to look and say, this is it. Below this is not HD. Above this is HD. Fine. You have to have that margin. All through that generation, there were many, many cases of things not running at 720. A lot of the Halo games and things like that would drop a little bit below because as the need to increase the really beautiful particle effects and to have bigger textures, better lighting, better shadows, all of these different things crammed into a very limited amount of space in terms of what your hardware is doing inside that actual console, you have to make allowances for that. There's only so much stuff, you know? And you can't put 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. So they've got this 5-pound bag and they have to find 5 pounds of savings to make it work. And a lot of times the resolution gets a little bit of a drop. And over time, that's kind of what you see, you know? You'll see things really begin to take advantage of the hardware, but then you'll see that the game engine technology wants to be moving forward a little bit more. So you suffer a drop in certain things in certain places. The frame rate isn't so good. The resolution isn't quite so high. And, you know, for the most part, this is okay as long as the cuts aren't too deep. As the always forever counterpoint to the consoles, the PC does not have this problem, at least not to the same degree. They have much more granular controls. You can yourself decide what you're willing to play with.
Do I want the extra particle effects and
Right.
shadows and lighting, or do I want higher resolution?
And higher
What
frame
sort of
rates?
frame rate am I willing to live with? What do I find acceptable?
Right. People in the PC world are almost always going to be playing at the very best resolution they can for whatever monitor they have. So the question is more about what effects do you want, how much anti-aliasing, anisotropic filtering, do you want tessellation or not want tessellation? Can you run physics or not run physics? Can you do any of these things and still get a frame rate that you need or the image quality that you demand? That's all very, very nice. So the reason this is very strange, there's two real problems here. The first is the fact that there's already a console war brewing before the consoles are even on the ground. I mean, there just has to be, right? There's too many people, too many fans involved in this business, and too many people that identify themselves based solely on, but I'm the guy that is going to pre-order this. Well, I'm the guy that's going to pre-order this. So you put on your red shirt, I'll put on my blue shirt, and we'll do battle over things that don't exist yet.
I know. Prior to what we're talking about currently right now, all we had were price points and
feature sets.
You know, launch titles, feature sets, things like that. Now we're kind of looking at some, and we did have some technical aspects but
there's been a lot of argument over how things work on paper, and there's been an awful lot of effort by fans, by press, by the well-informed from different areas of the world to draw out a lot of real-world experience and talk, you know, kind of on paper to theory craft what this actually means. And the theory crafting has, up to this point, almost universally come down in favor of the PS4, where specifications and ultimate performance is concerned. For months, this hasn't been a real problem. You know, it's whatever. It's just people talking because in the end, it's all about the games. And that's one of the reasons why some of these pushbacks that were suffered a couple weeks ago, some of these titles getting pushed back into next year, looked a little worse for Sony. Yeah. Because you're losing a little bit of what people were going to buy your system for in the first place. It's not too bad, but it's a launch system. There's not much there to begin with. So that's all perfectly fine. But now we're well inside of a month to when these systems should be coming out. We really should be looking an awful lot in the next, say, week or so from now to early reviews of next generation titles, games play cross-gen and exclusive games played on these platforms. And it's not showing up for the Xbox. There's been plenty of talk about how you can expect this or that outlet to have plenty to say about the PS4 stuff, but not really doing the Xbox One stuff, can't really tell you why. And just about, this is not universal, obviously, but an awful lot of the stuff that's been shown from each console or from, let's say, a third-party developer, right, has either been shown running on a PS4
or on a PC.
Or on a PC matching Xbox One specs. Like,
Yeah, they were really defensive against on
yeah,
that.
and
Whenever
they have been very defensive.
because I talked
where
to
that's concerned.
I talked about it after coming back from PAX, saying, "Hey, I played Titanfall," and I want to say it was Nabokov in the chat room said, "Oh, those were running on PCs."
Yes.
He was very adamant saying that, even though everybody else was saying, "Yeah, but they're at the specs for the Xbox One."
Yes,
or
but they had an
Xbox
Xbox
One
sticker on them.
Yeah,
And I get it. The systems are relative. They're so much closer to PCs now that is a much better. You can more easily get away with that, and I understand.
Yeah.
However, I'm not buying a PC
Right.
running at Xbox One specs. I'm buying an Xbox One, please, knowing that I am irrational. I'm from the internet, right? I'm irrational. I'm a console fanboy. I need my fix. I have a vein to tap, and it's, the opening is in the shape of an X. I have to buy your system. Please dispel all my worries and just show me the game running on your system.
Yeah.
That's all I want to see.
And let me be clear, Nabokov was not defending them. I knew he'll listen back to this and send us an email being like, "Whoa, you got me wrong." No. He wasn't in defense of that. Trust me.
He was just relaying information.
Yes.
And I'm a rabid fanboy of a great many things in the world. Platforms are not one of those things. I am so completely platform, developer, publisher agnostic. I am always willing to renegotiate my relationship with anyone. So I don't care. But yeah, it's a little strange now that I think I should be looking at a world flooded with videos directly off of either system, and we're not really seeing it on the Xbox. So when a piece of news like this comes out, it isn't that this piece of news means the world to anybody. It's that one last rock on top of the pile that's really kind of stands to bring the whole thing down.
Yeah.
And it's very strange. For the first time ever, they're showing it on a Sony system and not an Xbox system. And Infinity Ward, no matter who's there, has always had a really, really tight relationship with the Microsoft platform. That's always just been
Think about
there.
every E3 that you've seen since Modern Warfare 2, or even maybe World at War, when Microsoft has always had the leg up on the first. You get the first map. You'll get the first maps, downloadable content maps on the Xbox system.
Yes,
because Microsoft.
They pay for exclusivity.
They did. Yeah.
That is something they believe has always led to success for their system. So I don't know, but there is some suspicion. And if you follow the internet in the right places, then you actually, one of the wonderful things about the modern internet, where the gaming scene is concerned, is that unlike 10, 15 years ago, you're not really at a major remove from developers, publishers, or any of those people. Many of them choose, or are occasionally required, to interact directly with people, and they don't do it in their own controlled environment.
Yeah.
They have to wander out of the safety of the Microsoft campus or Sony HQ or wherever, and wander into a potentially hostile forum. And when the mood is already against you, I don't think that's a particularly good idea. And in this case, the accusation is that your system, for whatever reason, can't handle it. The scary thing is, A, the other guy's system can. B, it's Call of Duty. This is commodity level gameplay. This is not Battlefield we're talking about. This is not Frostbite 3 tech. This is not CryEngine stuff. This is ancient, perpetually rolled up, reinvented and reshaped and tarted up, game engine. And I'm not saying it looks horrible, but this is not something that anybody would ever look to and think.
I mean, did you see what the PC specs were for Call of Duty?
No.
A Core 2 Duo.
Really?
Yeah.
And
like a 5870.
Man, your old system would have run
like a
this.
450.
Yeah.
Yeah, a GeForce 450.
My 6-year-old system would have run this, with the exception of it's got the of course the requisite modern requisite 64-bit operating system requirement and 6 gigs of RAM, because
Why?
Hey guys, we don't want to compress our textures in our FMV movies anymore. That's all I can think of. We really just demand 2 more of your gigs. But setting all that aside, what is going on inside of the Xbox or inside of the tools, right? Because it can't be the hardware.
That it can't manage to put out a game of that requires so little of it that it can't manage to do that at 1080p and 30 frames
and
per
there's
second.
no way you don't ask that question.
Yeah.
And because no one is forthcoming, because no one really wants to explain what the problem is, you know there's a problem. When you listen to what people have to say about it, what official representatives of Microsoft have to say about it, it's shoulder shrugging and hand waving and a lot of behavior designed to not answer the question one way or the other. It's simple. Wait, hey, is your game running at 1080p or 720p? Well, guys, that looks great.
And upscaling works really well, so,
what are you
upscaling,
talking
right?
about?
Right. A dodge of the question is not an
Right.
answer to the question if you don't have the answer that they're looking for. They're looking for a yes or no. If you can't give them a yes, then you don't give them a no in the PR world.
You just don't open your mouth in the first
Yes,
place.
really,
just
that's the other thing. You
stay
just
mum.
shut up.
Stay out of it. And I'm not even. I've got issues with Microsoft. I've got issues with how they've managed the system. Not even the same ones everyone else does. I think the chances are they were caught flat-footed. They were caught not expecting, and this is not my original thought. These are the thoughts of people who have information in the industry, trusted leakers on various parts of the internet. They're just behind, man. They're in the weeds, and their tool set isn't ready. They had to make some choices with the hardware that maybe they wouldn't otherwise have made, and the tool set necessary to be able to get the kind of performance out of it that they want, it's not ready. They're 6 months behind, and they're perpetually 6 months behind, and they have been for the last couple of years maybe, or maybe it's just this year. They will catch up if that's the issue, if it's not an inherent hardware problem, but if it's more about management or tool sets or something like this, or even simple communication, be surprised how far a problem can go when it just comes from communication.
And catching up is great, except when your system is about to launch. They're not going to be catching up.
Nobody wants to be catching up.
Yeah.
Nobody at all. And Sony really didn't want to catch up again. They had years of hell catching up. They didn't want to do it again. That's why they've made a lot of the decisions they have. Microsoft, they just didn't. And whatever the reason was, who even knows who's to blame? Nobody can really say. Honestly, we're probably never going to know. But the point is that it doesn't look good for it. And there's a lot of people out there who really care about technical advantages one way or the other, but they also have some sort of platform loyalty.
Yeah.
This puts them in a really bad place.
It does, but one of the things that we always used to look at on reviews of games that were coming out early on in the lifespan of the 360 and the PS3 were the comparisons. How does it look better on this? Or is it glitchy over here? That sort of thing. We kind of that sort of stopped, I guess, because everything pretty much caught up with itself, and it's like, well, very little difference between the two. It's all dependent on where your friends play or whatever the controller that you like, or if it's got a PC port, that sort of thing, whatever the case. But one of the things that we always looked at in the early parts of the lifespan of the consoles was which one looks better, which system does it look better on, and that's what you're going to get out of the gate on a lot of these when you start seeing the reviews of these games that are multi-platform like this. It's like, we compared it with. I don't know out of the gate because I know PS4 you'll get those reviews first.
It'll have a week's advantage on some of the third-party stuff. Some of that third-party stuff doesn't launch until after both systems, right?
Right, yeah.
Nobody wants to be the system that is consistently, the B team where any cross-platform title is concerned. But want it or not, it looks like Microsoft actually may be in that position for a time, for a while. And maybe forever if what we think is true about the tech specs continues to be true.
Yeah, because what was the other rumor? Titanfall? Possibly
yes,
running it?
And that's something that had been said before, but was brought up again in this discussion, that Titanfall is suffering the same problem. And I don't understand that Source Engine, right? That's old, well-worn, well-known tech. I mean, it's Source Engine. It's Half-Life 2. What are you doing in there? What in the world is happening? I don't know enough about engineering to make my own guesses, but I suppose the problem is we all know that competition is great. Competition really is fantastic, but it can be really ugly if the momentum shifts too much one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I think that clearly a number of people are going to buy their Xboxes because they're unaware of this. They don't care about it. They are platform champions. I don't know. Any one of a dozen reasons why they'll buy it anyway. But a month from now, when both of them are out, and it's just absolute, there's no more hiding, there's no more guessing, there's no more trying to decipher what you've seen on screen.
There's no way that they can control the message.
Nope. It is absolutely 100% as real as the current consoles are. And right now, these new things, they're just an idea. Setting aside the few people that have had their hands on them at road shows or conventions or expos, and, you know, the DualShock 4, which
I was going to say the closest thing the public has right now is the DualShock 4.
It's the DualShock 4,
yeah.
which a lot of people have gone out and purchased just to plug into their PC or their PS3.
Hope to have one of those next weekend on the show so you can get your hands on it for the first time and give some feedback. And I'm sure it'll match how great I feel about it as well, or just how much of an improvement the thing is over the other one. But
we'll
should
see.
have that next week.
I'm keeping my mind open.
Yeah.
I don't have any reason to replace anything now anyway. As much as I like it, I'm not convinced it's going to be the better PC controller.
No.
But and I'm fine
Yeah.
in that regard right now. But yeah, right now they're mythology right now, or they're rumor, I guess I should say. They are very real, and they are sitting there real. But almost no one has had any, no one's had any alone time with it, And alone time with a piece of hardware like this results in a ton of different things. All of the different details about what makes the experience the complete and total experience of messing with this console. And that's what it's going to be a couple weeks from now. So, and then, we'll be at your house like frantically hitting the HDMI switcher,
hitting the switch back and forth
because you'll have the two consoles.
Oh yeah, exactly. No. I want to set something up like that. I do want to see some differences there. So, anyway, when we come back, we will have more of in-game chat up next. And welcome back to In-Game Chats. Naveed in the chat room says that the main issue for Microsoft seems to be the split between cheaper RAM and the ES RAM. It's created difficulties for devs that seem like a reverse of what we saw with the first year or so for the PS3 with the Cell compared to the 360. I'm sure devs will get around to figuring out how to cope with the ES RAM with time, so things will most likely get better, though there will still be a difference in GPU power.
It's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very creative people. It's their job to make the most with what they have.
And you made a great statement that they can close the gap on the tools.
Close the gap on tools, but you can't close the gap on hardware.
But the stuff that's in there is in there.
There have been hardware disparities in almost every generation of hardware that we've seen already. And the more powerful system doesn't win by default. But never in the history of someone releasing a console have the two consoles been so close in architecture. And the more powerful system being so close, yet clearly more powerful than its competitor, and also being the one that is apparently easier to work with. makes for an extraordinarily fun time for a PC gamer who doesn't have to care what's going on down there. Until, Uncharted 4. Or what have you. Yeah. Until something ridiculous comes along.
Until the game that you want.
Until the game that I can't live without. There's already games that I want. If I want to play Killzone, I want to play Forza. But, it has to be the sort of thing where I'm, like, jealous of you because you get to play it and I don't. And I'm angry that you won't just give me your system or something like that. It has to be that. It has to be the irrational point where I can no longer live without 1 to 5 games. So, yes, it will happen eventually. In the meantime, it's arena battle for me. That's all that's happening down there is arena battle. I'm very, very, very pleased to have a competent PC and to be in a mental space where I'm very happy with my playing on the PC right now. I think it's an excellent place to be.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that this might drive demand for the PS4 up once word gets out of this sort of thing that your games will run at a higher resolution.
Yeah, and that's garbage analyst speculation.
It's speculation.
Stuff.
Yeah, I understand. What do we do? But yeah,
I'm really interested to see how that works out and how people feel about it, and if people feel kind of duped and led astray by virtue of there being so little information. 4.2 makes a good point. It's a kind of an anecdotal thing, but the Xbox One being such an enormously large system, it's actually a bigger box than even the first Xbox. And PS4 is the same size as one of the Slim.
The first Slim version of the PS3.
And still somehow manages to be more powerful. And based on some of the videos we've seen, whisper quiet.
Yeah.
That's quite a reversal from this generation,
isn't it really?
Because PS3 is monsterly loud.
I have an old fat PS3.
Me too.
And I don't play it if I can help it because of that actual because it's so loud. I don't know. The part of me that is completely irrational, the part of my brain that doesn't care about fact or evidence, does not trust the PS4. You are too small. You don't make nearly enough noise. It's not true. If it's bigger, you can fit more power in. Just pour some more in. Open the top and put in more power. Just do that. Clearly, the Xbox has to be better at that, but it's,
Yeah, it's like a coworker of mine said, too much like right.
Yeah.
Regarding the cheaper RAM and the ES RAM that Microsoft went with, am I imagining this, or didn't we hear that was something that Sony had considered at one point?
I don't know that they did. The oldest news that I'm familiar with is that Sony definitely wanted GDDR5, unified RAM. It was the volume of RAM that's the only thing that had changed. Okay. I guess maybe back when they were still speccing the system.
That's what I was thinking. I thought there was maybe I'm making this up in my head, but I thought that we had recently heard something about how it was one of the options they looked at as far as cost cutting, but that it would overly complicate.
It would, and that it wouldn't answer a lot of the questions they had gone out of their way to source from the development community.
Right, which was we want a single unified memory architecture.
And using ESRAM is not a new or unique solution. It's a well-understood solution, which was why I think a lot of the engineering teams, it was something they wanted to run back to in order to get cost savings. It was something they were familiar with using. It's a fairly well-understood solution to a cost problem. But yeah, it's not as simple as a single block or pool of unified RAM. So I've now reached the limit of my ability to speak meaningfully on technical subjects inside of consoles. But the point is, it'll all be figured out in about 4 weeks.
Yeah, I know. This is stuff we said. This is stuff we said once we got back from E3 when we talked about, well, this is what they say, this is what we say. But, and you've told me this plenty of times, just a random message you'll send me and be like, I'll be so glad when this is done, when these things are out.
Yeah, this is a little fun, but I don't like this.
Yeah.
I want the race to start, and I feel like all of us in general have been acting as if it already has, and it really hasn't.
No, it hasn't.
There's nothing real happening
because,
right
like
now.
you said, nobody's gotten their alone time with the systems.
No, reality starts on, for America at least, reality starts on the 15th of November, at least as far as just really getting comfortable with the PS4. But the comparisons, the next generation, that race doesn't start until everything is out.
Yeah.
So.
I was gonna say, if this turns out to be true, and they are really, really strong rumors at this point, it's unbelievable to me to imagine that a console launches in 2013 unable to do a bare minimum of 1080p and 30 frames per second on everything.
And that's...
Well, amazingly
That
enough,
seems ridiculous.
Did you see where the PS4 is getting their day one patch? Without it, it can't play DVD or Blu-ray movies on its PS4. On the PS4.
I saw that list. Like,
Yeah.
Almost every feature
It
we've
can
been
barely do
touted
a
on
lot
it
of things.
needs a day one patch for
Yeah.
it to do. Yeah.
Which is fine. They got a patch out. But yeah.
I can't get upset about day one patches anymore. I just, I think it's such an expected thing at this point that development on a console or game essentially continues until its release. These things are so connected. I can't imagine not having it connected to the internet.
Yeah.
And if it's not connected to the internet, a lot of those features you're not going to use anyway. You're not going to be using Twitch or Ustream or a lot of the other things that were on that list, the digital sharing.
Right.
So.
Well, and you're not even just talking about patching software,
Yeah.
like with a game. You're actually talking about a piece of hardware that had to match specs and meet specs for reproduction, for fabrication.
Sure.
Kind of a long time ago. And you have to fab these things. You have to put them in boxes. You've got to have some kind of old version, some snapshot of the firmware on the system at some point.
Development on consoles doesn't ever
end.
No, I mean we're still getting PS3 and Xbox 360 firmware updates.
Yeah.
Of course, development's going to continue over the course of these things being produced and put in boxes and them shipping in November.
Yeah, certainly nothing from my point of view that's terribly wrong about that. But the one thing that isn't going to end, the one thing I really do feel like we're in for that isn't going to be a lot of fun is the arguments over raw performance on these consoles. This past generation was the first time that a home console reached HD. It was moving people into the massively high definition, a new world of image quality for an awful lot of people. And it looks to me like they're trying to create an image quality target. There's a target point of some kind that they want all of their games to meet. And these are the things we have for the next 5 years, at a minimum, the next 5 years. I really want these things. I'm accustomed to a new console embarrassing my PC on day one. And they have always done it, and it doesn't embarrass them for long. But they do it, and it has happened every single time. Except this one. So how do I not pay very close attention to that as a person who is generally interested in gaming and hardware and the technology and the experience?
Yeah, Naveed points out that Forza 5 is doing 1080p at 60 or 1080 at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
So the system's able to do 1080p.
Yes.
If I remember right, when Major Nelson was doing his little unboxing video, he mentioned here's the HDMI cable, 4K ready. Did he not mention that, or have they not?
I think so. I think they have. I think they have said that. I think both of them had said, "Oh, sure, 4K." Sure, I guess. Yeah, why not? There's no technical reason we couldn't display a blank screen at 4K. I don't know. That's ridiculous. But I mean, come on. We all read.
The 4K is for streaming Netflix 4K when they start doing.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, possibly. I mean, if you want to be realistic, if you want to talk
Very
right
true.
now
Yeah, there you
about
go.
the hardware required to push 4K on a PC, it's spendy.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's super spendy to do it right now. So, sure. Let's let 4K dig its way a little bit deeper into everybody's understanding about what they should be seeing. Let that marketing buzzword rattle around for a few more years, and then see what that does.
Regarding Forza 5, they've had to make some compromises to get to 1080, haven't
Yeah,
they?
a couple. They've been, and I don't know what a big deal it is because I do look at the videos, and if I want to look at it, with my gamer side eyes, right? Like if I want to look at it like I'm trying to dig deep and look at every frame and find what is and isn't legit, look and see if there's any aliasing or not. Is that dynamic lighting or is it like static lighting? Is it baked or not baked? Are those shadows real? That sort of stuff. I always did feel that was a little bit silly where Forza's concerned. If the conversation is technical, then fine, we can talk about that. But I've played plenty of racing games, and the whole world's kind of a blur anyway when it's a racing game. So really high resolution, decent frame rate. I do think those are the most important things. But yeah, the rumor is that they've had to make sacrifices. But if you want to get technical, no game on any of those consoles is not making sacrifices. Not a single one of them.
That's true.
So,
and it is less important on a racing game.
I think so.
That's
I
certainly
personally
my
think
feeling
so.
on it.
So I and again, not here to dump on the Xbox One. You guys have done very little right up to this point. It would be nice for the people who are your fans, for whatever reason. It would be nice if you could do them a solid and come out and just don't trip over your shoelaces on the 22nd.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You think they're going to do it anyway, don't you?
You know, it's just one of those things. I don't know. It's just like you. Just let's do it. Let's get it over with. Let's pull the bandage off. 1, 2, 3, pull. Go.
Mm-hmm.
Get it out there, and let's see how bad it hurts.
Yeah.
Or let's see how well it's healed.
A year from now, we'll be back into this conversation, and we'll be talking about where they are, where they are going into their first full mature holiday season. My guess is it's not so bad for them. My guess is they'll be okay. My guess is once both systems get through this next spring, and they can get a couple of things out, if they can actually get Infamous out the door, get Titanfall out the door.
I mean, it is what it is now because we only have the few titles that we have to look at. We only have the word of these few people that have really gotten some time with it, and then we've only got the restrictions of what they've been allowed to say.
Right.
And nobody has been given just the systems themselves to pour over, nor have they been given the games themselves to say what they want to say about it without the restriction of PR and media. So that's kind of where we sit. Jumping over to an email we got from Kenneth Williams. He said he sent us an email about the recent issue with Total Biscuit and Wild Game Studios. He reviewed the game, giving it a bad review, and the studio pulled the video off of YouTube onto copyright terms. Now, since this email, they have reversed that decision. The video is back up on YouTube. But Kenneth was curious how we'll see this affect the PS4 and the Xbox One with their sharing and streaming implementations. More than the story of what happened with Total Biscuit, I thought this was something that I never really thought about until Kenneth brought it up in his email, was like, oh, that's right, all these copyright terms.
Well, two things. One, that particular thing with Total Biscuit was it was a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
On their part. They behaved very, very badly. I understand. I mean, I patronize his stuff, okay? I go and I watch his videos and I watch what he does. And I've said before, I think he's a good personality in certain respects. I think sometimes he's in a bit of a rush to review everything and he's a little unfair. And I have literally seen him be in such a rush that I don't think he's doing a very good job because, hey, I just actually played through that segment a couple of days ago and you did a really bad job. But I know, whatever. So the quality of his stuff can be in dispute. That doesn't matter. A lot of people don't like the guy because he's abrasive. It's also not in dispute. So it can be really, really, it can feel bad if you know that you put out a bad piece of work that is nevertheless the fruits of your creative labor, right? And then a guy like Total Biscuit, who's not going to go easy on you and is going to use his best creative meanie voice to say horrible things about you. And I think they just lashed out and they made a bad decision. They attacked him on the grounds of the fact that he was monetizing their work. It's baseless, specifically because even though he's monetizing what he's doing it from the point of view of a review, critical work. And there were half a dozen other extraordinarily critical people who said things just as terrible as he did about that exact game, who were all monetizing their videos. Not a one of them got a takedown notice.
None of that, yeah.
They were just mad.
Yeah,
and they couldn't see straight through their tears. And that's all that was. But it shines a light on the fact that this is just going to become more common.
Right, and he pointed it out when he did an explanation of why it was pulled. He's like, look, I got some clout because I got a huge subscriber list and I got a lot of people pulling for me. But what about the other guys who don't have this sort of backing and don't have this sort of support to be able to do this sort of thing?
And it's really, really easy to get a handful of knocks. What is it, like 3 knocks and
3 and you're out.
3 and you're out. That's a bad policy. That's an inherently bad policy.
Yeah.
But you're not fighting some nobody rule. You're not fighting just corporate interest. You're fighting the DMCA and the ability for different people to use it against you. Theoretically, the rules are on your side, but it's the same thing as the justice system. Yeah, okay, they are if you can kind of afford it, if you've got the weight to throw around, if you've got the time to spare. It's chilling effect is the right thing. It has a chilling effect, and it's not a great thing at all. So now, this is also to say, just because the new consoles are going to be able to stream natively doesn't mean console streaming isn't happening now. The technology to do it isn't that expensive. It's a couple $100s. And you can be streaming console games too. It's not that big a deal. But
it's about to be put into
it's about to be
blown wide open. And essentially given to the public, to the gigantic public en masse to upload and put them up there. Right. And of course, they're doing it through, I'm looking at the PS4 thing, they're doing it through Ustream and Twitch. Now, there is no straight to YouTube stream through these machines. It'll go through Twitch, and then they will have to use whatever they did on Twitch to upload from there to YouTube. Naveed says most of us don't have the type of following or on social media for publishers or developers to care about us uploading and complaining about stuff when it comes to the PS4, Xbox One sharing features. I completely agree. Most of us don't, but most of the time, it doesn't matter if you're going to be making money off of it or if it's there and putting them in a bad light. If they can find some way to pull it off, if copyright's the way to do it, all they've got to do is do it. We're not really complaining about the publishers and developers. We're more complaining about the way YouTube's method is.
The fact that it's the onus is very much on the individual user to defend themselves against an imbalanced unwieldy policy, and how easy it is to go straight after just, knock, knock, knock. There you go. You're done. You're out of business.
Yeah, I mean, our videos have gotten flagged not for pulling, they've just gotten flagged for copyright material. We're not making money off of that stuff, sadly. But all I have to do is be like, I acknowledge that it's copyrighted material. It recognizes music that we play on the show, stuff like that, or music that plays. I mean, my pinball videos have Star Wars in them, and it recognized John Williams' stuff and said, this is copyrighted material. And I said, sure, click. There it is. I just want the video to get out there. We're not trying to make money off of it, but the people who may be trying to do that or who start to try and do that will run into some issues, possibly. If all they do is get on there, if you get somebody whose gimmick is to hate on everything.
Those are popular. Those are popular. Regardless of whether it's hate or love, regardless whether it's serious or joking, whether it's a walkthrough, a let's play, a 24-hour charity stream, it doesn't really matter. I think most of the casual evidence and a lot of the very specific studied, directed evidence points to unless your game is an absolute boil, on the rear end of the industry, this kind of exposure helps you. It does not hurt you.
Yeah.
So, and in the other case, well, you made a bad game. You made a bad game, and people need to know. And you know what? Maybe you don't think you did, right? And maybe you think a guy like Total Biscuit has too much weight and too much influence. But if you're right in your assertion that maybe you didn't and people just don't understand, then more people playing your game is better because it's more of an opportunity for a broader set of opinions. This is always better. This is always better. Only people who don't want information getting out there are the people who somehow think it's going to do them harm and the people who irrationally and falsely believe that they're losing money when it does. That's obscene and ridiculous, and it doesn't do anything but harm everyone.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where it's like, I may have said something bad, but your game just got exposed to almost 1 million people at least. So
that was before they started crying about it.
Yeah, well, then when they cried about it,
then they engaged the Streisand effect.
But that was I was going to say, but that got completely it's one if you'd had left it alone, people would have seen your game and said, well, maybe I'll give that a shot, or maybe I won't, whatever the case. Since you didn't leave it alone, people just turn angry towards you and wouldn't and outright will not buy your game now. They won't even get a consideration for what you did. And so it kind of that kind of put you in a bad position to have to do that. Basically, just let it happen.
Yep.
Which is a horrible thing I've heard said before.
Yeah, but there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you've exposed yourself. You have to let the criticism run its course.
Yeah, exactly. Let that happen.
You can either let it happen or you can make it worse.
Right.
Bingo.
And you can just be quiet about it. You can be contrite. You can communicate professionally and clearly, and be considerate of the people who might be your customers. Be extra considerate of the people who move that information to your customers, who convey that information. And be consistent and say, you know what, we'll try to fix it. We'll try to do something better.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go to our top of the hour break here. When we come back, we've got an interview with Red Barrel Games on their game called Outlast. We're going to be talking one of the developers there we talked to earlier in the week, and we're going to be replaying that interview in the next hour. Plus, we've got 2 copies of the game to give away on PC. Not exactly sure how we're going to be doing that, but if you're in the chat room right now, then that's good, because we're only going to give it away to people who are in the chat room right now listening to the show. So make sure you get in there. But we'll have more of In-Game Chat coming up next. We'll be right back. Back to In-Game Chat. With us now, joining us on the show from Red Barrels Games, it is David Chateauneuf, and I hope I pronounced that right. David, hey, welcome.
That's perfect. Welcome. Thanks for receiving me.
We appreciate you guys doing the show. Been trying to get with you for a while now, and I know you guys have been busy because Outlast released in September, but I'm sure it's keeping its momentum going in the month of October here, what with the theme of the game and the theme of the month going on, scary, Halloween, that sort of stuff. So first off, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, the last year has been quite hard for the whole team, trying to manage to find the right people to ship the game. We had a bunch of challenges, in terms of business and in terms of ideas as well, making sure that it's because it was obviously the first project that all of us worked together for real. So, but we were quite happy and proud of what we delivered. Even if there's some things here and there that we were that could have been better, but it's part of the job.
It comes with the territory. You always look back on even some of your best stuff, and you think, I could have done this part better. I could have done, a little bit better there. But it's been well received and has done great. This is your first. This is your first game from Red Barrels, correct?
Definitely.
Yeah, but is not the first game by far by pretty much any of the members on the team, is it?
No, the team is really experienced. If we are talking about the founder, the co-founder of the company, Hugo Dallaire, Philippe Morin, I would say Régent Charpentier and myself, we've been working on a big project before. If we think about Hugo Dallaire, he's been working. He worked on the first a Splinter Cell and was the artistic director on it. So he knew how to use the light and shadow. And
let me tell you, that franchise misses him.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, let me tell you, that franchise misses him.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the first, loved the first Splinter Cell actually. But yeah, so. And what about you? Where do you come from?
Like the first thing I did, like it's after college for sure. It was I went to Ubisoft actually at the same time as Philippe Morin, who's like the other game designer, and we both were game designer, level designer, and we did a ramp up there doing Donald Duck. We did also not Splinter Cell, but Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. We both worked a little bit on Assassin's Creed. Then I moved on Splinter Cell Conviction, and as Philip went to Naughty Dog, working on the first Uncharted. So
Nice.
we grabbed like people from all the company around us, like in Montreal, like IDOS, Ubisoft,
Wow.
and just to so we managed to attract talent here. Like we got two wonderful animator, like a bunch of like two other artists that are awesome, like Alexandre Sabourin, Patrice Côté, and I can name pretty much everybody. Like, Marc-Antoine Sénécal as well. It was pretty, and we had to deal with the sound, like Game On Audio, was a small company in Montreal that helped us working on the sound. So all those people were like really into it, like really passionate about it, about the game, because we came with a small prototype, and everybody was looking at it and was like, "Oh yeah, I want to jump into the action and be part of the experience," and that finally resolved to be something I could say people like. We're still receiving email from fans, and we see that community of like people drawing stuff about the game, and there's almost not a day that like somebody like from the outside that sends us an email saying, the game is great, when's going to be the Outlast 2, when is it going to be released, and are you working on the DLC? So it's quite amusing and interesting to see that.
Yeah, no, it's got to be rewarding to see that as well, to put all that work into it and then get the feedback that you guys have gotten, which is, like I said, it's been great. Now, how many people do you guys have at Red Barrels?
Right now we were 10. Then we had to do some changes. Right now we are actually 10, 11 again. We find another programmer and a sound designer. So we got like a new people on the team that are gonna start on November. But apart from that, like we're just a like 10, 9, 10, 10 guy doing their best.
And have done a great job on it. So, like I said, congratulations again on Outlast. You had mentioned questions about DLC and that sort of thing. Is there first off, is the game coming? You got some DLC on the way for it?
Well, I can say for sure we're discussing about it because people are asking for it. We're checking if I can afford to do it because but it's something that like interests us. We're discussing about it, but I can say for sure that we are gonna release that. When specifically, I can really tell about it as well.
No, and that's
it's part of the making sure that we cannot promise things that we can deliver.
Right, of course. You can't put that out there and then you'd have to go back on it in case you can't make the date or in case it's just not going to happen, that sort of thing. Completely understandable about those things. So don't we've talked to plenty of people who have not been able to tell us things that we've asked before, so it's quite all right. So don't worry about that. But so DLC on the way and questions about a sequel and that sort of thing. Let's go to the beginning of this. You guys all get together and form Red Barrels. And you said some people joined based on a prototype of something you guys were showing them. What was that prototype?
Well, actually, if you look at the trailer, one of the first trailer that we did, that we posted on our website, that was something that we did almost 2 years ago. We were three, Hugo, Phil, and I. We all the three of us sort of tried to do that in the Unreal not the Unreal 3 but the other engine, Unreal Tournament, I'm not sure, UDK, and so we worked on that, trying to do this prototype and playable and we asked like some people at the outside that could like do some music for free, and just at least to start like doing our business plan. Then that demo slash trailer, and that's pretty like we were like let's say just five guy trying to come up with something, and anyone to make sure that it's long enough so we can prove to people that we can deliver something great, and that from that like we found pretty much all the pillar of the game, like night vision, like spooky kind of thing, like being alone, trapped in an asylum, like everything was there to make sure that like people knew what would be the game. So that's we started like I would say like 2 years ago, and 2 years, maybe 1 year half, because we had to like start working also on the business side, like spending money, like eating craft dinner, and like like putting all those things together so we can make sure that the next year would be profitable for us.
Yeah.
Because that like we started that like with like on all our money, so we had to back ourselves with all those like with money. So I just like use my rear to be able to live during that time.
Yeah, no, it's a
like
scary thing to do. It's a scary risk to take. Although and honestly I believe it's paid off and will continue to pay off for you guys if you keep doing what you're doing, from what Outlast has shown us. So, and I'm not saying you keep doing just keep making horror games or anything like that, or keep making Outlast type games, but the quality of that game and the honestly, I know it's strange to say for the way it's built, but the beauty of that game is something that if it continues down the line with you guys, it's I think it'll be great for you, and you guys are going to be very successful with it. But who came up with was it always from the inception of the idea of non-combative sort of horror survival type of thing?
Well, the thing, what really happened is that, like, I would say, like, back at Ubisoft 4 years ago, Philly and I wanted to to start working on our project on the Wii, and like from there, like we knew that it couldn't be just like a normal FPS, and so I would say from that. After that, we come back together and with Hugo, and that's where we started to see. Well, okay, we thought about that like in the past, like doing in horror games, and why not doing something that is specific to what we are good at? So for Hugo, it was like the light and shadow with the night vision goggle and stuff like that, and because with the Chris Cunningham like a Robert Johnny movie, we got inspired by that, and at the same time, Amnesia was like we played it, and I played the Penumbra and stuff like that, and so there was something about like trying to like I don't know, Frictional Game did something pretty cool to start something new. And at the time, we were in the same kind of mood of wanting to do that or working on an horror genre as well. So night vision, story-driven story, and so we came. That's how we came out of with all those ideas to make Outlast. So for sure, Frictional was a pretty good. Was a pretty good influence on us, but also we had our own ideas on how to make sure that it's not just a first person with a gun that floats at the bottom of the screen, but mostly something where you can see your hands and you see your bodies and you interact like a la Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously, it does have that sort of that Mirror's Edge feel of just how, an odd thing to say, but just how first person it actually is. To sort of immerse you into that setting. It's interesting that you bring up Splinter Cell, and one of the best aspects and one of the original key points of Splinter Cell was the hidden in shadows night vision type situation. You could flip on your goggles and everything was great, even though you'd still be hidden. It's a scary thing in Outlast. Even though night vision is there, it feels like it's odd. Splinter Cell night vision is a safety, is a plus. Outlast night vision is a very horrible thing to go into.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. Like in Splinter Cell, it's mostly it's a tool that you can use to as your advantage, but you feel powerful because you have a gun and you're that
exactly.
Like,
you feel
dude.
powerless going into night vision.
Yeah, but in Outlast, it's completely the opposite. Just by getting rid of the weapon and making sure that like the field of view is really is reduced, and with it's something completely different. So people, I think it helps a lot, and it's the way we brought it, and by putting also the camera, not like those night vision goggles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just having that camera and playing as a reporter, it gives a completely different feeling, because you know that you're polished. You're not that guy that can kill enemies anyway. Like there's no way like all those enemies are like stronger than you. They have weapons while you don't have anything. So and that was a choice that we decided. I would say in the middle of the production to make sure that you're not gonna find a weapon in the game.
Right.
Otherwise, as soon as you have a weapon, you feel that you can do something with it and you can fight people. So making sure that you don't have any weapon, it's like, okay, you know that you have to run away. And
yeah, it's survival in the basic sense of you just need to survive on your own. You have no weapon. You have nothing to aid or assist you in your survival other than what you can visually see and then run away from.
Yeah, because that's the type of game. It's a survival game. Like it's funny. Like these days, we call that I would say those Dead Space and even the new Resident Evil. They are calling themselves like survival horror, but it's actually mostly like an action shooter.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hanging on to the genre tag that it helped to kind of invent, but that has evolved. With games like Outlast, with games like Amnesia, and things like that, where the definition of horror survival has evolved. You can go into horror action, exactly what you meant. Resident Evil, those type of titles where you can fight back. But any game that seems to give you that horror aspect, but actually gives you no way to fight back, you just have to run and hide. That sort of now defines, I suppose, what the horror survival genre is.
It gets closer to what survival really means.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say we could say like even like trying to find food, trying to barricade yourself could also be part of that experience. So that might be like different. There's different aspect of a game. Like every, I would say, like we can see survival in different ways. We can see that like in different ways. But obviously for us, it was mostly about like not fighting. Not trying to fight back the enemies, but just mostly riding and running and hiding.
Yeah. So as much as people use the, I know it's a term used to put on the backs of game boxes or putting on reviews and that sort of thing, but redefining the horror survival genre, and you're not necessarily redefining it. You're because horror survival, you're reinforcing, I suppose.
We just found that that type of game was kind of like was forgotten, because I remember playing the first like Resident Evil and the first Alone in the Dark, actually, like one of the first game in 3D, where you still had a shotgun and stuff, but you really felt that you were like powerless, and you have to really watch how much ammo you had. But then it's just that right now, because of the big company are trying to make their profit or their project profitable, they are making sure that everybody can play that. But then like all the hardcore fan, like the passionate guy about that loves the horror and being scared, like you don't do a lot of money, like because it's not like most people like it's not something that people love to be scared. It's not, yeah, I want to be scared tonight. It's mostly I want to have fun. I want to shoot things.
I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to that.
But we knew that there were still like people that loves that and like real passionate guys. So like for a small company like us, it wouldn't make sense because like we don't have to spend like millions and millions of dollars a day to make sure that like like every details are perfect and like we can do a lot of maps and stuff like that. So we had to find our good spot and focus on that and making sure that like we really deliver what the player, like those player wants, like to just to be scared. And so we had to analyze all that. But so that's pretty much like what you like the reinventing. I would say Amnesia and those guys were a little bit more in advance in terms of that, but we still had those like I would say at the time they were doing that, we still had our ideas about how to make sure that we are not doing like to bring the first person to another level because. These days, I hate just like when we say first person, we always think about first person shooter, and it's like no, there's tons of stuff that we can do without like shooting. It's not always about shooting, and that's the point that we wanted to bring with Outlast. So that like the mirror's edge thing, and I cannot lie by saying that we have much more ideas right now, like how to like go further.
Yeah, I mean,
that direction.
The comparisons that I understand, there's comparisons with Amnesia and what they're doing, but I look at Outlast, and you're right, bringing up it's something that I didn't necessarily until you brought it up kind of see that connection with the Mirror's Edge sort of thing. But every action has the animation. I believe Amnesia, if you walk up to a door, it just has it has a hand icon. Type of situation. You open the door and the door just opens, that sort of thing. But if you walk up to a door in Outlast and you want to open that door, the animation of reaching out and opening that door has to take place. It's one of the things that Fear did for the very first time, or at least the very first time I noticed it. Fear and Condemned, actually. Yeah. Making actions that take away control from the player for just brief moments.
Yeah, just like crawling, or there was like going over something.
Going up a ladder or going down a ladder where the animation of the person turning around and setting foot onto the ladder to crawl down is completely out of your control. The head movement, or the visual of which way you can look, and your actions briefly are taken away from you, and there is a vulnerability point.
Definitely.
During that point where you have no control over what's going on. So whatever you're about to throw in my face, I'm about to either have to witness unless I close my own eyes.
Yeah. Well, we kind of reuse one of those moments in Outlast. Well, if you play the game in the prison, you can see a patient going out of the prison door and then get back in. And if you go and look at the window, you see, you don't see where the guy is, and then you click to open the door, but then there's that animation of you trying to open the door that tells, it's locked, and then your face just go back at the on the frame of the window, and the guy's right in front of you. So we had like fun playing with those things, and like I would say by having a body with different type of animation that like are realistic, we can definitely play with those moments to scare you, definitely. Like jumping, like the same thing when you try to climb and you don't have your camera in your hands. And then as soon as you get back on your feet and you raise the camera, we can spook you with something else. And if you really always let the full control of the player every time, then it might be harder to give those sense of that sense of spookiness and scared.
I hate it when that happens. Honestly, I do. It's a great technique. Whenever I lose the control of what I'm doing, I know what's about to come. I'm like, well, I got a 50-50 shot. They're either about to really scare me, or it's just going to go through the motions and do its thing. And that's usually when I'll just hand the control over to somebody else and say, "I'll watch you play." It's a little bit different watching somebody play a game like these than actually playing it yourself. Playing it yourself, for me, puts me in such a situation of vulnerability, whereas watching someone else play it, I'm actually okay.
I would say like well, our class we noticed like really soon in the production that if you don't play and if you don't put your headset on your head, you really have the same attachment to the experience, because we're just like reviewing the game, like the whole team, and with no headset, and we're playing the game, and at some point we're like, oh, it's not scary at all. But then because we knew everything, we know all the tricks, the music, like we were not immersed. So watching people playing those games. It's really not the same thing as if you really want to be deep into the game. Like playing alone in the dark at your pace, it's completely different than just being a group of guys like playing that like in a party. But actually, it happened. It still happened. There was a movie on YouTube like of 10 drunk guys playing Outlast, and they had fun, and they still got scared. But I would say it's because of the alcohol and not because of the game.
Yeah, alcohol has that effect. Alcohol can have that effect. That's a good way to go about it. I really didn't think about that. I'll just have to drink a lot before playing your games from now on. But again, you guys have done great with Outlast. It has been very successful, and it's so successful that Conan actually had to add it to his list of games to play for Halloween or whatever, for his scary game thing.
Yeah, yeah, we saw that like there was many people wanted Conan to play, so we were looking at his website the other day. I was like, oh, okay, guys, we heard you. So then I think it might be good for us. So
yeah, I mean, if that many people
it might be interesting to see how the thing goes.
No, it's something to say that if that many people, shouted loud enough that they had to add your game to the list of nominations for him to play, that's probably a pretty good sign that it's going to win.
Yeah. Well,
do you know anything about that? Do you know that if the voting's done, or?
No, we're just waiting for actually, I don't know when it's going to be released, when we're going to know that. But no, we're kind of we are. Oh, we can say, I can't say that.
Oh, you can't say that? Okay.
No. I mean, I don't know how to say like there's that word of we can wait to see what's going to be the answer.
Gotcha. Well, I don't know. I think, like I said, if enough people made enough noise that they had to actually add it into the list, there's a pretty good chance that you guys are going to pull ahead and win this thing and have him do it. I don't know if there's politics involved in it as far as what games he does or anything like that, but seriously, it's a great opportunity, and I hope it comes through for you guys to get that out there so that people can see just exactly what it is. I relate it to, again, I look at Amnesia and stuff like that have come before, and of course their sequel that came right around the same time you guys came out. But there's a difference in what we had seen with Amnesia and what you guys are doing. Obviously, the full animations that you have for the movements and that sort of thing, but Amnesia's setting at times is in a dungeon-like environment. Which puts it almost in a fantasy type realm, whereas yours, I know some of the nasties you got to face feel kind of unreal, but there is a sense of realism to it. I don't know if it's because you added in the camera effect or just the way that you're fighting humans, or I say you're fighting, you're not, but there's humans involved, and there's a real world feel to it. It's almost like a haunted house attraction simulator that you've made.
Yeah, well, that was like we had some guidelines since the beginning, but we that's how we described the game a little bit before. Is that like imagine how like what would happen if you play in a haunted house?
Mm-hmm.
So that type of things, but we didn't really also go all in that direction. So that's why we kind of try to have like a moment where there's a multi-path or multi-strategy, or like the courtyard where it's a little bit more open. But still, like, because we have a lot of experience with the movies industry. Like Philip worked in a movie and did some scenario, so we know how to build like story driven games. So that's, I would say, we could have done something like really open and I would say Grand Theft Auto, but that wouldn't be our force. Like we mostly know how to build like story, and I'm just the our freak fan from in terms of movies. So I've been watching all the movies like The Ward, Session 9, Jacob's Ladder, like all the Cloverfield, Wreck. So for sure that impact the direction of the game as well. So how to make a game that is the in between a pure game where the player can do whatever he wants and something really well driven. So we had to find that. And the other thing is that we didn't want to compete with other company. That was not our goal, like to try to crash or because at first like that's not us. Like we don't want to pretend that we are I don't know what the best of whatever because like Slenderman they had like that game is awesome as well, and they went to that direction of like Ghost and things like that, and Amnesia went into that like fantasy
Right.
kind of world. So on our side we wanted something grounded, like something realistic, and something that like everything is like is back up by like some information. So and we wanted to find like all the reason possible to make sure that it could be possible that all those things happen. Right? Well, for sure, there's always like that three key things that's like, yeah, right, it's going too far, but at least like we had answer for everything to make sure that the game is like makes sense and could be possible in a world. So that's the direction that we wanted to take since the beginning of the game and the production, to be really well focused and different from the other type of horror games.
Yeah. Do you ever get tired of the darkness and of the horror and of the bleakness and just kind of want to, I don't know.
If you ask me personally, I would say never. No.
Never. You every day you enjoy it, huh?
Every day. Well, before I go to bed, I'm always watching an horror movie. Pretty much
wow.
every day.
All right.
I've got that huge collection of horror movies at home, and there's always something that I can watch, something new, or why not watch
unwind with something that'll rattle my
Yeah.
nerves before I go to bed?
Seriously, no, I'm never. I'm always like looking for horror games myself. Like I'm buying everything that I can. Like all the other indie game that they made. I'm buying all of those because I just want to see like what they're doing, and I love to be scared. Like I really feel that I'm alive because like my body's reacting to what's to the game. I'm not just like focusing on and see, oh yeah, it's cool. I'm really involved in the game, and I really like that. So no, I'm never tired of that.
Well, we had a question from one of the guys at Colony of Gamers, Fitbabits. He asked, what motivates you to create games, especially in the current climate of so many games across so many platforms? Are you concerned that your potential audience is being diluted simply due to the amount of gaming options available?
Gaming option, yeah, but about our games or in general?
He doesn't specify in the question.
Well, for sure, our strategy was still to make sure that the game would be available before that whole I don't know, GTA and all those things.
Right.
We couldn't compete with that. And we don't. It's okay. I mean, they spend so much more, a million, and but I think the motivation was that because we were passionate about it. We just wanted to do something that we wanted to do. I think that's the key. Like trying to find the perfect game that nobody think about can be possible, but it requires lots of time. Let's say like Journey, for example. Like that game doesn't look like any game, and that game succeed and it works. on our side, I would say it's mostly because like we wanted to do an horror game for a long time ago, so it was in our veins that we wanted to ship it. And if with the passion and all the effort, we were not scared at all. We had that's pretty much. We're not scared that the game would be proud of our game, because we would have like just worked so hard to make it like the best as possible. So the motivation was mostly for personal reason, like let's do that game because we want to do it, and not because of we're scared of what's out there. Otherwise, we're never gonna move forward, because there's always something better than what we can do, and there's always like people that can say, oh well, don't do that, like it doesn't work, and it actually happened. Like people at the beginning was like, oh yeah, well, and we said like, whatever, we're gonna do it anyway. So we just have to believe in ourselves.
No, that's exactly right, and you guys, and it's paid off. So again, congratulations. If I understand right, and this could have changed since the last time I heard about it, but you guys are going to be released on the PS4 as far as the PlayStation Network. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's still on track.
Yeah, okay, and it's what is it, a PS Plus thing or?
Yes, that's the thing that that's a deal we had with Sony, and we're going to be on PS Plus.
Yeah, wonderful news. So that's coming up. You guys are going to be, unloaded into a completely new market for you, or at least a new audience anyway. That'll be great.
It's going to help. Yeah.
Oh no, it's going to be wonderful. And you probably can't say, but I'll ask it anyway because it's something I almost do with everybody. But what's next for you guys?
What's next for us? Working hard.
Okay, that's fine. I understand when it's something you can't say or can't hint at what you're working on next, but I completely understand it. So
well, it's just mostly because we don't want to spoil anything. Like if I tell you what would be your Christmas gift before Christmas, it would be okay, but then the surprise would be gone. So I would say I don't want to spoil
like you
anything.
didn't want that happen. Like what? Really? You didn't sneak around for your Christmas presents?
Never.
Oh, come on.
No,
that's fine. No, that's fine. No, I completely understand. So that's great. Really, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and thanks so much for your time. And thank the team as well for such a great game and the hard work that they put into it. It's really paying off, and I think it's going to continue to do so. So congratulations to you guys, and thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
And we will be back with more of In-Game Chat coming up next. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Congratulations to Plorch and Daroku in the chat room there. We gave away Steam codes to Outlast to those guys. And the way we did that, we honestly had no idea how we were going to give it away. We just wanted to make sure that everybody in the chat room pretty much had a chance to win. And we did that. We came up with Hangman, of all things, to play during the interview, and they got it right. So they got the phrases that we did. What were the phrases? Survival horror was the first one, and 720p.
And 720p spelled out.
Yeah, was the second one. So did I get it? I got it right. I got his name right. That's great. So anyway, congratulations to you guys. Very sorry for those of you who didn't win, and sorry Nabokov for.
We just made it up. We
popping
had no
out.
idea.
Yeah, we really
we
didn't
felt
know.
bad that during a pre-recorded interview, it's just on camera. It's just a bunch of weird guys sitting in a studio, and we felt like we had to engage the audience somehow.
I know, we were looking around the room like, what could we do? We found an
there's a
accordion.
whiteboard.
Yeah, and there was the whiteboard, and we're like, all right, we'll do that. So So anyway, welcome back to the show, and congratulations to you guys for that. Let's see, gaming stuff that we've been doing. Obviously, Batman finally got released. Released on a Friday. Batman Arkham Origins. I got it through an eBay code off of whatever, $25, and I'm more than happy to pay for
Some
that.
guy bought a video card
And wanted to sell his key to it, and so I got it. It did come. There was some speculation. It did come with a pre-order DLC. Some had said that no, the NVIDIA codes do not count towards a pre-order, but apparently, if you get the code and enter it prior to the game being released, I think you get the pre-order stuff. If you're getting the code later, it may not come with it or not. I'm not exactly certain on that, but I got the DLC with it. I've been playing it. I am 7 hours into it. I am 13% complete. Mainly because
that total completion counts all of the extra puzzles, all of the weird side
I'm
stuff.
going to say, yeah. There is a story completion.
7 hours, 13%.
Yeah, I got to go look at it. There is a story completion. I want to say I'm 8% on that. I'm 8% on the story the last time I looked, and I'm not exactly sure when that was. If I looked at it today before I left, or if that was last night, I can't remember. No, getting in there, I enjoy the combat. It feels a little bit different. It's a lot faster than what I remember in Arkham City. I have a little bit of advantage for myself because I'd been playing Arkham City a lot
in the run-up
prior to this.
You played the PC version, which you previously played on the console.
On the PS3, yeah. And so I had bought the PC version, and they upgraded them, took out Games for Windows Live, and they upgraded to the Game of the Year edition. I was like, let me put it in here. Let me see what it looks like. I remember wanting this when it had the NVIDIA physics, but I had an AMD card at the time. I was like, I'll just play it on the PS3. Looks great and loved it. And so I was playing Arkham City to the lead up of Arkham Origins being released. I do enjoy the combat. Like I said, it feels faster. The enemies feel faster during the combat segments as well. This is more enjoyable for me. I don't know if it's because I'm starting out at such a low level of Batman. I haven't upgraded him to a lot of different stuff. You level him up as you go. And as you do, you unlock different tactics of combat.
Different
like
gadgets and stuff as well?
Well, gadgets and stuff as well. But as you're doing combat, if you get a certain streak, certain type of combos unlock the higher the streak gets.
Okay.
So like once you got to like an 8 streak combo, then you get access to these multi-button combos that you can use during a fight, which will make which will increase your multiplier.
The special takedowns with only available when you have a streak of 5 going, then the streak of 8, and a better one when you get in the teens and double digits.
Exactly. And that's one of the combat is still one of the best forms of combat that I've ever had in a game before.
Simple and free flowing.
Yeah, it's so good. But this one, the guys, the attackers are a little bit quicker on this one than they were.
Okay.
I used to be able to pull a knockdown takeout or whatever it is. Whenever you knock a guy to the ground, you can do a special combo, and Batman will immediately jump over there and knock him out, so you don't have to worry about him anymore. The animation for that in Arkham City, again, having played it just recently, I could do that a lot. But for Arkham Origins, the animation of what he does, as long as guys aren't around you, he can pull that off. But if they're near, they still get in a shot before you can pull off that animation to take him out.
Okay.
They throw a lot more guys with knives and with armor at you a lot quicker than they do in Arkham City.
Okay, yeah, they were there, but they were sporadic at best, but not like...
No, this one, almost every fight's going to have a guy with armor or a guy with a knife or both. Guys with knives are kind of okay. They just take a little bit more getting away from. The armor guys are a little bit tougher because the armor guys you have to do a cape stun with, and then do the fast the barrage of hits. Which again, while you're in the middle of doing that, you can still get attacked.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of saving those guys for last.
Could you still like go barrage and break it off in the middle of it and like parry and then come in and attack? Okay. So
you can still parry, but he's still the guy in the armor still dazed.
Yeah.
If you can get the parry off quick enough, you can get back to it before he recovers.
Okay.
But a lot of the times, if the animation's too long, depending on what kind of parry he's doing, the guy will revive himself. So, but yeah, I'm really enjoying the combat. The skill tree is a little bit different this time. Before, you could pick and choose how you wanted to upgrade your Batman. This one, you get skill trees. So things that you want to unlock, you have to unlock about 4 or 5 different things before you get there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
kind of like in Borderlands, yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first thing that I did in Arkham City was upgrade my armor for combat and then for ballistic, so that I could take hits and take gunfire a little bit more than I normally could. Well, in this one, if I want to get the 4th upgrade for the combat armor, I have something in between there, another upgrade that has to be purchased first before I unlock that 4th upgrade, that 4th and final upgrade.
Right.
So there is a skill tree system in this. Some of the other upgrades, and I'm trying to think of the Sonic Batarang.
Right.
I can't unlock that by just leveling up. I have to do certain tasks in the world in order to unlock that. There's certain requirements to unlock some of these gadgets that you get in the world. Like, oh, you took down 5 guys with just batarangs. Boom, here's the Sonic Batarang. So there's different things like that you have to accomplish in the game in order to unlock some of your gadgets. I don't like that. If I want to get some of the grapnel upgrades, I got to do some of those stupid AR glide through things.
Oh yeah, the flying mission.
Yeah. Whereas before, I could just upgrade. If I leveled up, I could upgrade it from that. But here, you have to do certain tasks to get some of these things unlocked. So, not too thrilled on that. Cutscenes look great.
Qualitatively, though, like, how do you feel about it? How do you... One of the reasons that I see a lot of people saying that functionally it seems pretty good, but it's a 7 out of 10, right? Really seems to be that it hasn't done anything to move beyond what the other 2 provided, which I guess is okay. Personally, I think I loved the other 2, but this one's too much like them. I don't want to play this. Seems to be kind of a common refrain. And I do understand the game has come at a weird time, and it's not available on the next-gen consoles. So, maybe a lot of people don't care. But, I mean, does it feel okay? Does the story seem to make sense? Does it feel a little bit strange that, at least to me in videos, Batman seems to be more a Batman from the future in the previous games than a real, honest-to-goodness, year 2 Batman? I mean, do you like the direction the story's going? Do you like all of the excuses for why the game is built the way it is?
So far, yes. So far, I'm okay with it. So far, I really haven't run into any issue with it. There's a lot of people like, oh, it's a big, massive world. I wish there were actually more civilian activity going on. Well, they give context as to why that is. And some people say, well, if they give you such a big open world, why can't you drive? I'm like, man, you look really good in combat situations with Batman because they make you look really good in that situation. But you give me in a car, I'm going to be running down street poles. I'm going to be taking turns. It's not going to be the way Batman would drive a car. Some type of situation. You won't feel as heroic, I suppose, or whatever the case is supposed to be.
I think it could be done. I think a lot of the things people want done could very well be done. I would not be surprised if they are currently being done by Rocksteady.
Right.
For the next-gen systems. I think for what these guys have been let to do, you don't want to deviate too much from the formula. It's too expensive. It's very risky. And because it's the kind of thing you want to just squeeze in at the end of a generation, the payoff isn't going to be particularly good. So it's just really, here's some of the guys, they're working on this thing. It's kind of more of the same, but you liked that, right?
Yeah. So far, I really haven't had any issue with some of the things that they've asked me to do in the game. And I'm trying to think, like, some of the detective scenarios. I've only done 2. Well, I'm working on my second one right now.
Yeah, I was thinking about detective mode. One of the issues that a lot of folks had was how much time you spent looking through the world through detective mode and not looking at the scenery normally. Has that been an issue for you? Have you noticed anything?
Well, I use it a lot because it highlights, like, again, I get stuck on side quests. Like, oh, there's 10 of these out into the world, and you need to... Remember in Arkham City, you could get rid of the cameras and Joker's balloons and that sort of thing? Well, in detective mode, those show up really well.
Yeah.
So here, you've got things like that. You've got some of Enigma's relays around the city because he's controlling the communication towers, very much in the vein of Far Cry 3 and Assassin's Creed, that sort of thing. And in order to access fast travel points in those sections of the city, you have to disable those towers. Once you disable the towers... The relay controls around in that section, which there's 10 per section of the city. Those show up on the map, and then you can take them out. Whereas early on in the game, I would see them and just like, I'm going to take that one out. So then I would go into detective mode because, again, those would show up on the map easier. So I spent a lot of time there. Now, in combat situations, going into indoor areas, environments and stuff like that, no, I use it when I come upon a room, I use it just to see how many guys are armed.
Right.
And then go from there without it. Yeah. So it still doesn't feel as much of a requirement as it did in Arkham Asylum. So they're still okay there. Boss fights are great. I just beat Deathstroke. That was a fun fight. And because it was a fight. It wasn't a gimmicky, and I'm trying to remember some of them from Arkham City. I would go with Solomon Grundy. You had to use parts of the environment.
Use the environment to take him down.
Yeah.
Instead of face.
Which I think you had to do the same with Bane in that one too, right?
I believe so. You had to make him run into stuff. Yeah.
And that, which was a lot of the same from Arkham Asylum. You had to make him run into stuff and trip over himself, that sort of thing. Nah, man, these are outright fights. Fights, counters, just, that was a lot of fun. Deathstrokes was a lot of fun.
Okay.
So I'm really, really enjoying Arkham Origins, and I'll have a lot more to say about it, obviously. By the way, the voice actors, haven't gotten to Joker yet, which was a big thing, but the guy doing Batman's voice, no problem. Doesn't bother me. It does not stand out to me that this is not Kevin Conroy as Batman. I've never had a problem with that whenever they've switched it up, and they've switched it up enough in some of DC's animated films and stuff. They've switched it up enough that I'm used to the fact that other people are going to have to voice this guy. So I can't hinge my enjoyment of the product on the voice actor. I mean, unless it's so bad. But this guy does a really good job. Does a great job of it. So anyway, we got about 5 minutes left. I was gonna let you know that next week on the show, this is a big deal for me. I don't know if it's a big deal for anybody else, but it's a huge deal for me. Rand Miller from Cyan Worlds is going to be on the show live. These are the guys that made Myst and Riven, and also Myst 5. Wrote the books based on the Myst universe as well. He's going to be on the show next week to talk to us about their Kickstarter, Abduction, that's going on right now.
You still have old Myst retail boxes sitting up on top, on top of your computer desk.
Yes, I do.
On top of your hutch.
Yeah. Riven and Myst. Both, any of the physical copies that I have, I still have my physical copies, the CDs of that stuff. It's a big deal. And we're going to have him on the show next Saturday for a phone interview. So that is going to be, for me, that's going to be a huge thing. So I'm really happy to have that happen. So that's been great. But other than that,
are you going to be able to contain yourself?
I know. I don't want to turn into like Chris Farley and be like, you remember that one time in Myst when you gave me the book? That was awesome.
That's not what you do. That's not what you do when you talk to your favorite people.
Yeah.
That's how you forget to ask questions.
That's right.
You just spend about a half an hour going, man, I just love your game. I just love it. That's all. I mean, like, I love it. Like, those are capital letters that I'm using right now. I love it. That's italics.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you do.
Well, hopefully we'll get questions from the audience. I've got plenty of questions to talk to them about, especially about Abduction.
Well, if you forget to ask questions, the shirts come off.
That's more bad for the audience, I guess. Bad for you guys.
I ain't taking my shirt off.
No, I'm saying
when now the threat has no teeth.
Okay.
But anyway, that's next week for us. And that's it. This week, be more Batman Arkham Origins for me. Be Battlefield 4 for you, James. I guess you're going to be picking that up, right?
What? Yeah. What?
Yes. You haven't bought it yet. I'm just saying.
No.
It could change.
I don't know. It could not change.
It won't change. Okay,
it could not change. I will. I'm going to buy it so hard. I'm just winding up right now.
What will you be playing, RJ?
Well, I'm going to be trying this network test for Dark Souls 2 coming up early tomorrow morning.
Did you figure? So that is tomorrow morning our time?
Tomorrow Sunday morning.
It's always a little bit difficult getting into any sort of beta access with a Japanese company because they're doing everything so far ahead that it can be, you have to make sure that you're actually paying attention to which day it is and which part of the clock you're supposed to be working on. It can be frustrating.
I was looking at the site and everything. It indicates early Sunday morning from 1 to 4 a.m. our our time. So I'll be trying to get in on that and seeing what I can get out of that.
That's good. There's nothing like waking up at a ridiculous hour to do something ridiculous.
Jeremy, anything for you next week?
I plan on trying the new WWE game of all things. I haven't played one since the PlayStation 1 era, and I'm interested in trying out the 2K14 game. See what's up with that. Probably have no idea how to play one anymore.
Well, hopefully we'll get some assessment of that next week for you. More on Arkham Origins, more on Battlefield 4, and a lot more. I'll see if we can get a giveaway because this was a lot of fun. So
Yeah, it was.
see what we can do. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. We will see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Twitch. Also, check us out over at colonyofgamers.com. We got a thread over at NeoGaf. See if you can give some life into that thing. I don't like to self-promote over there, but it'd be nice to get some more people knowing what we do here. So it's a lot of fun. And we'd like a lot more people joining us. So thank you very much, everybody. We will see you next week on the show. Have a great week.